Very interesting position taken by Fidel Castro. Remember, he is someone that usually, when it comes to geopolitics, takes the position that the enemy of my enemy is my friend. But he has just put out one of his reflections of Comrade Fidel, saying that it is much too early to tell whether it is true or false that the atrocities that are being reported in the media are really taking place. He's being very, very, very guarded. In fact, he's only basically saying that he hopes that the only thing that he's sure of is that whether or not it is true that Gaddafi is doing all these things that are being reported, the only thing he thinks may happen is that the United States may order a NATO strike into that country if the price of oil continues to rise. But even Fidel Castro refusing to come out staunchly in support of Colonel Gaddafi at this point, which is very interesting.
Yeah, right. What's fascinating about that is that all these South American leaders traditionally aligned with Gaddafi, but that seems to be changing. Certain members seem to be pulling back a bit.
Well, yes, they were not so much aligned with Gaddafi, at least not the majority of Latin American leaders. But remember that many of these countries are part of the non-aligned movement, of which Libya is a member. But clearly, Gaddafi is becoming an embarrassment, both to the moderate left-wing and far left-wing governments in the region, all of whom supported the uprising in Egypt and are following events in the Middle East and now in Africa very, very closely.
Yeah, interesting times. Lucia, thanks very much indeed. Well, in the United States, there have been a number of small rallies in New York and in Washington protesting against Gaddafi's regime. Outside the White House, a group of more than 50 protesters from a number of US states chanted anti-Gaddafi statements. Many are, in fact, international students who are concerned that their scholarships could be revoked for appearing at anti-government demonstrations.
The scholarship, they can't take the scholarship and they don't care about that. I can go now, right now, if they just like cut the scholarship, I will go immediately. Now, what's going in my country, it's miserable. We can't just watch and just stay.
I will say something to Barack Obama. Please, Barack Obama, don't make a friendship with the dictatorship, but please make friendship with the people, with the Libyan people, with the youth of Libya, not with the dictatorship.
I wish I were over there to fight with my brother. A lot of people over there dying, innocent people. They didn't do anything. They just go to the street. They just went to the street, and they wanna destroy that system over there.
Anyone who speaks out publicly, anyone who speaks to the media, is risking their life, and they're not afraid. None of us are afraid anymore. I could probably not go home anymore after this, but I'm not afraid.
Yeah, things are happening aplenty here in the States, but right now all eyes on the UN to see what happens there, what comes out of New York. That's it for now. Back to you, Doreen, in Doha.
All right, Nick, thank you very much. We'll come to you with any updates out of the UN. But for now, let me update our viewers on some of the latest information that we're getting out of Libya. And it seems that the Libyan army has deployed in large numbers in Sabrat. That is west of the capital, Tripoli, in Libya, and this after protesters reportedly destroyed government buildings over there in Sabrat. Now, this is according to a newspaper, a Libyan newspaper. And we also hear that Saif al-Islam Gaddafi, who was Colonel Muammar Gaddafi's son, he's meant to hold a press conference in Tripoli. We don't know when, but these are reports that we're getting. So as soon as he starts to speak, we'll bring you all the latest that he said here on Al Jazeera. So do stay tuned for that. In the meantime, Ahmed El-Gassir, he's a Libyan human rights activist and joins us now from Zurich, Switzerland. Thank you for joining us on Al Jazeera. I'd like to ask
inviting me.
Your reaction to Gaddafi's speech this evening, Muammar Gaddafi's speech. What did you make of it?
As usual, it's deplorable. I mean, it was full of threats, serious threats against the civilians. It's what I would call is the second declaration of war. The first declaration of war was the speech of his son that was on Sunday. Which was followed immediately by the atrocities that we have been reporting.
And we hear now, as I was just mentioning, that Saif al-Gaddafi is meant to hold another press conference. What do you expect him to say?
I'm not expecting anything really from him. I mean, he was a complete disappointment after all the preparation and the PR that they have done for him and the education in European institutions and universities. Now, you know, his speech on Sunday was a declaration of war against civilians, unarmed civilians. So what do we expect from him? I don't expect much from him than what his father has already said.
Where does Gaddafi's power base lie now? We're seeing the resignations of high-level officials as well as some of the military. Who supports him?
I would say that I would call that Gaddafi has now he has a regime called the regime of Bab el-Aziziya, the rogue regime of Bab el-Aziziya. His control in Tripoli lies just in Bab el-Aziziya and the Maitiga air base. Other than that, he doesn't have control on most of the streets of Tripoli. Yes, he has these mercenaries going around shooting at people. His security battalions headed by his son Khamis, the youngest son. But as he described, there was a section in his speech, Gaddafi speech I'm talking about, where he described these demonstrators as rats, that they come and disappear. And this is what is annoying him, because he could not suppress, despite the heavy show of force and the use of helicopter gunships and you know, the fighter jets flying over the very low over the city of Tripoli, intimidating the people there. He couldn't suppress the demonstrators, the young people of Tripoli, the young people who are trying to make a better future for their country.
What about the tribes in Libya? We know that Libya is a tribal society. Does he have any support among the biggest ones there?
Gaddafi, Libya is not really, it wasn't a tribal society, but he used this to divide the country, divide the people. But anyway, I can tell you for sure that he has lost the support of the biggest tribe in Libya, which is the Tarhuna tribe, which its people or its sons constitute about a third of the population of Tripoli. He lost also the support of the second tribe, which is Warfella, which, I mean, you know, the relations with them were not really good, except for some of his cronies that remained loyal to him. Otherwise, Warfella, which has been in distance or at distance from the regime since the October coup attempt that was 1993, which was mainly composed from high-ranking officers, security officers from the regime. So also the second tribe, this is the big tribe, Warfella has already renounced him. Musrata completely, which is a very, it's composed many tribes, but it is a big, it's an urban center. It has completely renounced him. You go to the mountain.